Hi, I'm Nick Federoff. Today on this episode of Things Green, we have more information and ideas for the beginning and seasoned gardener. Lawns don't waste water, people do. So we'll take a look at how to measure the amount of water your lawn gets. With limited growing space, gardening is growing up on trellises. Let's be creative with them. Then, when you buy a plant, check the root ball first. It tells you a story. Join me today on Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Super Thrive, the original vitamin solution. 50 vitamins and nutrients. Vitamins for trees, plants, and lawns. More information at superthrive.com.
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
With continued support from Cole Tomato Cages, planting, growing, and harvesting. More information at colemetals.com.
AdviceRadio.com. Live and on-demand internet radio programs. A proud sponsor of Things Green.
And by Sustainable Environmental Education, hands-on workshops, classes, and seminars. More information at csonline.org.
I just love a well-manicured lawn. And let's face it, lawns need water. And with that, do you know how much water your lawn is receiving? And better still, do you know how much water it actually needs? 58,000 gallons of water is used by the average home each year. Hey, that fills up a lot of swimming pools. But 13 to 30,000 gallons is dedicated to the landscape. We're going to look at some ways how to lower that number for you today. Unfortunately, 50% of the water that's used in the landscape is lost due to wind, evaporation, runoff, and poor water management by you. But don't take it personally. So with that, let's find some lawn, and I'll show you how to measure the proper amount of water that's needed to make it look really good. 90% of the weight of turf is in its roots, just like me. And those roots need to penetrate down into the soil structure, and they'll go 12 inches or more searching out for water. But how do you know that the water's getting that far down? What we do is we test the soil with a Dominici 3000 soil plugger to find out. Okay, this is how this gizmo works. You simply take it and you plug it right into the ground like this. If you got really, really hard soil, it's only gonna go in a short distance. If it's really wet or it's a sandy soil, it's gonna go real far. And then you pull it out like this. Now, the thing of it is that you don't have to have a fancy schmancy tool like this. You can use a shovel. The only difference is that your hole's gonna be quite a bit bigger. There are a lot of different soil types, but for our purposes, we're gonna focus on 3 major types: sandy, loam, and clay. If you were to take 1 inch of water and apply it to sandy soil, it'll percolate all the way through about 12 inches, where a loam soil, water will move through about 6 inches, and a clay soil, 2 to 3 inches. Now, for what I can see, this is a loamy soil, and the water has been distributed all the way through this plug around 8 to 9 inches, which is perfect. Now, with that in mind, how do we really measure the water that goes on your lawn? I conduct a lot of landscape consultations, and when I come visiting your house, the number one problem that I see is that you're watering your plants way too much, especially your lawn. Generally speaking, a lawn only needs 1¼ inches of water each week. So how do we measure that out? It's really simple. We start off with several containers of the same size. From the bottom of the container, we measure out 1¼ inches. Then we take these and we place them around our turf areas. We turn the water on, then we time how long it takes for this to fill up to that line. Let me show you how it all works. One of the questions I get asked on my radio show on a regular basis is, when do I water my lawn? The answer is quite simple. You want to water your lawn early in the morning between 4 and 7 a.m. This allows the water to percolate slowly inside, and at the same time, it's not going to evaporate as quickly. Now, if you wait a little bit longer, that evaporation process kicks in, and then on top of that, the water droplets end up becoming like a magnifying glass to the lawn, therefore burning it. And if you wait later on in the evening, you're only inviting insects and diseases. This exercise is going to seem like you're going to be using a lot of water, and technically speaking, you are, but I don't want you to worry about that, because in the long run, you're going to be saving so much water. And on top of that, when you get everything all nice and figured out, your lawn is going to look terrific. All right, it took us 30 minutes for us to fill up our cup up to 1¼ inch. So let's do the math. We want to make sure that we never water for 30 minutes once a week. We want to break it down. Let's just say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we have 30 minutes. We divide that by 3 for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we get 10. That's how long we want to water our turf. For 10 minutes, once on Monday, once on Wednesday, and once on Friday. Now, it's going to differ from your lawn, because it may take 35 minutes to fill it up to the 1¼ inch, or it may take 45 minutes. Regardless, divided by 3, and you've got the number that you need to water your turf in order to have a beautiful lawn. Lawns don't waste water, people do. And you gotta remember, it's about strategically placing the water on your lawn so you don't have runoff. Also remember to check your sprinkler head so that they don't have any debris in there, and as well, you wanna make sure that you have head-to-head coverage. This way, you can kick back and just watch the grass grow. I see that you've been on your hands and knees pulling some weeds over here.
You know, I don't really have to, because the Enduro verbena is this great, vigorous landscape verbena that covers a lot of space and keeps those weeds out of your garden.
Now I see we have 3 different colors to work with too.
Yeah, there's a purple, a white, and a rose, and for a consumer, this is groundbreaking in verbena because the summer flower performance. So when you talk verbena, what's the most common problem, Nick?
Well, the flower usually, when it gets hot, it peters out. The plant stays good, nice and green, but the flower tires out of it.
This verbena is not going to do that.
Nice.
The Enduro verbena has that performance of like a motorcycle, rough and tumble. It's just going to keep flowering. You can see all the buds.
Yeah, look at these buds. It's just popping out over here. Now, speaking of rough and tumble, I know you've got a toddler at home.
Yeah, and she's learning to walk. She sometimes misses and falls. And if she were to fall into these verbena, they're so tough, they just bounce right back and be smiling at you. Same thing for a heavy rain or a heavy wind. This plant is tougher than other verbena on the market, and it's going to stay looking good all the time. Just tons of blooms coming.
Watering, where are we at on that?
You know, a verbena takes an adequate amount of water. It's not aggressive in terms of its watering needs, but you need to keep it moist. You need to give it the water and the fertilizer to keep it healthy.
Great, well this is good. Look, you got a weed over there, you better go pull that one. Bicycling and gardening go hand in hand. They're both great for exercise, and you could use your bicycle as a miniature pickup truck to go to the nursery and get some plants. And if you think outside the box, you can use spare bicycle parts to make a creative trellis that'll be the talk of the town. Come on, I'll show you how we do it. If you like being in control, especially in your yard and garden, then growing plants on a trellis is perfect for you. Because trellising plants is all about controlling the way the branches grow up on a structure. And the structure can be flat, round, square, it really doesn't matter. And it really doesn't matter what kind of material it's made out of either. It could be made out of wood, metal, any kind of mesh bamboo, you name it, as long as it's growing up and outwards in the direction you want. That is what a trellis is all about. Look at these rims. They're just perfect for the trellis that we're going to create. They're all of different sizes. We have a large, medium, and small. And the best part is we got them for free. Now, it wasn't a 5-finger discount or anything like that. You can find bicycle rims pretty much anywhere for free. People throw this kind of stuff away all of the time. But the only problem with them is that they're not really that spiffy looking. So what we'll do is throw a coat of paint on them to make them look a lot better. They say paint covers up a multitude of mistakes, and it sure did here. But look how gorgeous these rims are. Now, one thing it's not gonna cover up is a mistake that looks like this. Oh no, it's all bent out of shape. Well, I don't want you to get bent out of shape. But it's okay if this is, because it's only going to add character to our whole trellis experience. Now, our next step is putting this all together. If you're going to be putting this in the ground, you want a pole that's going to be in the ground at least 2 feet. If you're going to be putting it in a container, make sure it's as stable as possible, because when the wind starts blowing, you don't want this thing taking off on you. Okay, what we're gonna do is start off with our base, and that's normally the biggest one first. Now, I'm gonna put the bent part on the outside like this because I like the character that it has. We're gonna tie this all together with zip ties, but you can use wire, but I really don't want you to use any kind of rope because that's gonna end up rotting out on you. So the first one is gonna be real tight like this. All right. It's time to put the middle-sized rim up, and instead of taking it and putting it right on top like this so that it's parallel with it, we're gonna offset it. And we're gonna need a lot of these twist ties, so be liberal with them because we just don't want this thing flopping around. Now finally, we're gonna put our tiny one up, and this is gonna be really neat because it's gonna be offset even more. Let's get the rest of this thing cinched up real tight. This way, we'll be ready to start planting. Okay, that's nice and snug, I like that. Now the plant that you're gonna use, again, can be any type that you want. We're going with a viney plant in a 5-gallon size container. You can choose one that's in a 1-gallon size container. It doesn't matter to me. It all depends on how quickly you want this to fill in. One of the things that you're gonna find that's kind of cool on this particular trellis is that it is already tied up. And it's got the twist ties to it, which makes it really neat because we're gonna save these twist ties and repurpose them for our bicycle trellis. So let's take this apart and get it in the container. Okay, that old trellis is off. Now we get to give it a new home with our fancy bicycle wheel trellis. So let's get this into the container or into the ground. We use the same exact kind of rules when always planting, where we take and straddle the plant the best that we could over here, turn the container over, give it a little tap to loosen it up, and then pull it out. This never gets old for me. I enjoy watching this come out of the container like this. Okay, now we really want to take this thing and put it inside of our container as closest to the pole as possible, and at the same time remembering that we want to stay about 1 to 2 inches below the top of our container if we're planting it in a container. If we're planting it in the ground, we want to make sure that we don't bury our plant any deeper than the top of this root ball. So let's get this thing backfilled. Now that this is nicely planted, it's time to take these branches and lace them through all of these different spokes and tires to create a trellis that is perfect for you. Okay, as you can tell, we pruned this thing back heavily. We've laced the branches and tied them down through each one of the spokes. Before you know it, these are all going to be filling in as well as shooting branches out. You're going to have to be on top of this every couple of weeks. Come back and doing a snip and a prune here and there, but that's part of the fun when we're talking about trellising plants, because you're the one that's in control, telling the plant how you want it to grow.
Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Case, and welcome to my garden. What I'd like to show you today are some exercises that you can do before you do your gardening to prepare your body for all the hard work that it's going to do, and then also for you to do afterwards to thank it for all the hard work that it's done. So let's go ahead and we're going to start with the neck. So we're going to move it in every direction that you can think. Hold it, make sure that it feels nice and warmed up. So we're going to move forward, back, and roll that neck all around just to make sure everything's feeling warm. So let's go ahead and move into these arms. So you want to do the stretch and really make sure that you feel it in the arm, in the mid-back. We'll go to the opposite side. Just breathe with it, in and out, feel really good and warm. So a lot of times when you're grasping these tools, your hands can get really achy, the wrist can get really sore from the repetition. So something simple to do, just move that wrist really good and gentle, get everything moving. So it should feel a little bit looser and warmer. So let's go ahead and we'll move into our torso. And you could just do some good twists, get everything warmed up, feeling good. Now if you feel a little discomfort in that mid-back, you can just go ahead, bend forward all the way to the toes. Well, hopefully this has been helpful to you. So remember, before you garden, you want to warm up, and after, thank it for all the hard work that it's done. All right, I'll see you in the garden.
Everyone has a vice of some sort. It could be chocolate, it could be ice cream. It could be chocolate ice cream. One of my vices happens to be plants. Seems I can't pass by a nursery without stopping by to see what they have. And you want to know something? On my radio gardening show, people call me up all the time and they say, Nick, that's me, I've purchased this plant from a nursery and in a couple of days it doesn't look good. What's up with that? Well, we're over here at Green Arrow Nursery and we're going to ask them exactly that question. What's up with that? So come along. Hey Chris, you hardly working or working hard?
Oh, we're trying to work as hard as we can.
Oh, it's nice seeing you again. Hey, you want to know something? I just can't help but not stop by the nursery. You know, I just love this place, meandering around, seeing all the beautiful plants, and it reminds me of some of the questions that I get on my radio show on a regular basis. They'll come in, they'll buy this plant, and then they'll take it home, and in a couple of days it's looking kind of peaked. Well, you coming from the professional side, seeing these plants every day, what's up with that?
Well, when you take this home, you got to make sure you water this. Just don't throw it in the corner of the room and forget about it and such. This is your baby here. It's like a puppy dog. You got to make sure you water this guy and take care of him. Now, this here being a shade-loving plant, make sure you don't put this out in the sun so it'll burn on you then. And if you have it for any length of time, especially containerized plants like this or anything else, you may need to throw some fertilizer on it too then. It does dissipate out of the container in a short time here. So do keep them fed, watered, and that should get you going when you put them in the ground.
Well, I also know that there are things that we have to be aware of before we even purchase the plant, and I understand that you have a special area that you call
It's the hospital zone.
the hospital zone.
Yes.
I'd sure like to see a couple of plants that you have over there. Can we do that?
We can give you a show on that. No
Great.
problem.
Which way do we go?
Let's go this way.
Oh, okay, very good. So then he said, I'll have 2 pieces of broccoli.
That's good. I love it.
Oh, okay.
Love it.
So here we are in the hospital zone.
This is our hospital zone here. Indeed.
Okay, and I like the idea there's so few plants over here. What happens to a plant and why does it come to the hospital zone?
A number of reasons out here. One could be one returned by customer, didn't quite make it for one reason or another, or they're not satisfied with it. But if we have opinion that we think we can bring it back and resell it, we'll of course bring it back here and such. Other ones, if they missed a watering, especially during the summer, it's going to happen. It's not a perfect world. We will miss them. There's thousands and thousands of plants here.
Yeah.
So
and then I also see some of them where you've taken and you've pruned some back, generate a little extra growth and such. And you know, you mentioned about the watering aspect of it. This always excites me. This particular plant right here is pretty amazing because it has a lot of roots, and this may be on the root-bound side. You know, and it's real important because there's these little hairs that protect the roots that are on top of them.
Right.
And those root hairs, when they dry out, they really stop the main root from growing. And when that happens, you can set your plant back up to 6 weeks.
Yes.
So the bad plants, they're kind of making me ill. Can you show us what a plant looks like that is optimum for us to purchase at a nursery?
That I got plenty of.
Okay,
Let's go.
I like that idea. So you've been in the nursery business that long?
Quite a while now. I really enjoy it.
Wow. Hey, here's a lantana that looks pretty good.
Yes, this is a nice one here. This is what you look for when you come to the nursery to purchase your plants. Get a plant that's nice and green, dark green, nice, healthy looking. This one has a nice, even distribution of foliage and growth on here then. No real insect troubles or anything I can see on here. This is a great plant ready to go into your garden.
Now, one of the things that I like to do is to check that root system.
Yes.
So what I do is I like to straddle the plant like this, turn it over if necessary, kind of give it a little spank in there, and then, oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Look how those roots are just talking to me. Oh, I like that. And then look at this right here. See, you could tell that these roots are just nice and soft and supple, and you know there's root hairs on there.
They're ready to go.
And they're just ready to go. So here we have a perfectly balanced plant because of the roots of the plant on top, and you just can't get any better than this, can you?
No, you can't.
Well, you know what? As chocolate is a vice for many people, plants are a vice for me. And with that, Chris, I want to thank you for letting me and enlightening us, I should say, on what's going on over here. At this point, I don't need your help anymore because I'm going to load this cart up. I need some plants.
Excellent. You have a good time now.
All right, thanks
Enjoy.
a lot. Appreciate it.
Have a good day now.
I can't encourage you enough to go to your local nursery and garden center because it's like a botanical wonderland over here, but with the idea that you could take the plants home with you. And if you decide to do so, just follow some simple rules. First off, you want to make sure that the plant is evenly balanced, that there's enough leaves on each branch. And then also, if you're going to get one that has flowers on it, when you get it home and planted, chances are those flowers will fall off. You don't worry about that because they'll flower once again. And of course, you can pull the container off of the plant to check the root ball out to make sure that the roots are evenly divided and spread throughout the whole container, and they have that beautiful white color to them. And with that, you're gardening. Now, the next thing is this. Load your cart up as much as possible because you just can't have enough plants in your yard and garden.
I want to start growing more food for my own, and I've been reading up on how to save seeds, and I read in this one place where it says to save tomato seeds, you cut the tomato in half and you let it rot, and then you scrape off the bubbling spoilage, and I mean, it just didn't seem right to me.
Oh, that is so gross. Ugh. All right, look, I think what they're trying to get across over here is that they want to make sure that you have a vegetable that is really ripe. Then you know that the seed inside is going to be ready for you to plant later on down the line because you don't want to plant an immature seed. Otherwise, it's not going to germinate for you.
I had a question. What's their opinion on rock dust, if it's worth the buku bucks for it?
You know, it's really interesting. East of the Mississippi, people really revere rock dust. West of the Mississippi, they don't. because it's not as readily available, where they've taken these ancient rocks and they've grind them down. You get this powder out of it, you add it to your soil, and it adds minerals to the soil, almost kind of like a fertilizer. But there are a lot of other alternatives that you have at your disposal, which are much more cost effective. You can't ever go wrong with good old-fashioned compost. Get yourself a bag, mix it in the soil, and before you know it, you've got plants that are just rocking your garden.
We keep having our tomato plant die, but it actually gets tomatoes on it while the plant's dying. Can't get it to produce tomatoes and have a nice-looking plant. So I didn't know what we were doing wrong.
Well, it's not necessarily anything that you're doing wrong. Tomatoes are really interesting in that they will, as they get older and more mature, start to dry up. And this unusual phenomenon actually occurs where the leaves will start to die off on you, and it continues with the fruit. Again, nothing you're doing wrong. It's a natural thing. Allow it to do that and enjoy the tomatoes that you are getting off the plant right now. Don't let the grass grow under your feet, as we'll be breaking new ground. So join me next time here on Things Green as we talk about America's #1 hobby. It's gardening. Isn't that a great thing? Getting your hands all dirty and growing things. It's so exciting. Well, we'll be talking about how to make your plants look the best that they possibly could. Don't beat around the bush for whatever is on your gardening mind. Join me next time here on Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Super Thrive, the original vitamin solution. 50 vitamins and nutrients. Vitamins for trees, plants, and lawns. More information at superthrive.com.
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
With continued support from Cole Tomato Cages, planting, growing, and harvesting. More information at colemetals.com.
AdviceRadio.com. Live and on-demand internet radio programs. A proud sponsor of Things Green.
And by Sustainable Environmental Education, hands-on workshops, classes, and seminars. More information at csonline.org.